Use me. Ultra simple engine for miniature engagements. This is a product of Alternative Armies. In fact, this figure right here, it's called a Shide, as in Dark Elf, right? There you go, Hoff 62. I think that's the Shide infantry. Elvish aliens. Yeah, it's a 15mm skirmish battle campaign with a bolt-on solo play by Gavin Syme. He's the guy behind Alternative Armies. A lot of my 15mm figures come from Alternative Armies, including some of the figures we're using today. This is not a review. Let's slide on up here so we can see the figures that we're using today. This is going to be my first attempt at using this miniature rule set. What you're looking at are two different kinds of aliens. In the back, we've got the Prang. I believe these guys are available from Alternative Armies. We'll get that focus locked in better for you guys, a little less wibbly wobbly. And the way this game works is you have an Elan rating, which chiefly drives your initiative. Elan is rated 1 through 6. If you have a rating of 6, you get a +1 on all your rolls. If you have an Elan of 1 or 2, you get a -1. That may come in today. Our Prang, as you can see, are organized into 2 squads. We've got 4 basically shooty boys, led by a leader. In one case, it's Mr. Trenchcoat here, Mr. Neo Prang in the white coat. And over on the other side, it's this feller here with the heavy gun. Now, all of our Prang have an Elan of 5. They're going to move first in every turn. They move 8 inches. They shoot. They have an optimum range of 8 inches, which means up to 4, they get a +1 to their shooty. Beyond 8, up to 16, they have a -1. They are also wearing armor, which will come into play on the wound rolls. It gives them a bonus of 1. As you can see, we've got a lot more of these little space dwarves. We're going to call them the Gatungi in line with the manufacturer. Each of these squads is a little bit different. Now, these guys have an Elan rating of 3, so they're all going to go later, and I'll explain more about the rules as we go. In addition to a leader, that's the guy with the gloved hand pointing at the sky. Each of these 4 squads, see how they're color-coded, little tiger stripes? In addition, so they're all armed with rifles, again, just like the Prang. They have an optimum range of 8 inches. But they also have this bad boy right here. The heavy weapons guy can shoot 12 inches. Well, actually, you can shoot 24 inches. The optimum range is 12. And the way movement works, we'll back off just a little bit to show you. Because the Gatungi are shorter, they only move 6 inches. So we move our leader 6 inches, and then we just bring the rest of the squad up to anywhere within 3 inches of him. Get it? I think we're ready to start playing. Here is our terrain. We are not on Chalt anymore. As you can see, we've got a boring, bland white sky that is filled with post-it notes to remind me of the stats and how the game is actually played. There's your rule set. Use me. I should point out that these are available at alternativearmies.com. Kind of. You can get the PDFs for dirt cheap, print them up. Last time I went to look, they were out of stock, which is unfortunate because Alternative has some great sales, and I really wanted to pick up the other genres. They have a fantasy version, post-apocalyptic. They have, what else do they have? Zombies, and I don't know. Go check it out, alternativearmies.com. First thing we need to do is determine who is going to be starting where. And so to that end, I'm going to let's roll for the Gatungi first. Actually, I take it back. Let's roll for the Prang first. They're going to start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 along this board edge. And then the Gatungi will start on the other side. We're just going to do a simple shootout. So with a 1, 2, 3, they start over there. Prang, Gatungi, 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 Gatungi. Very basic setup here. It's just going to be a straight fire fight. We'll play until one of the sides is wiped out or until the victory is essentially a foregone conclusion. As mentioned, our Prang have a long movement range. So we'll move our boss man up to here. And then his squaddies can move to within 3 inches. So we'll put 2 on that side and 2 on this side. Only the guys that can see can shoot. So it's a bit of a hybrid here of, what would you call it? Of kind of character-based and non-character-based. For right now, our squads are going to be shooting at each other and taking fire from each other as squads. Once you eliminate and you're down to 3 people in a squad, then they all move as characters. You can mix Elan in a squad, but if you move them, you you have to take the average value. So if I had a bunch of guys with an elan of 2 and a leader with an elan of 6, that would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 14. Divide that by 5. You would go to the nearest. So this squad, if it was a 6 and a bunch of 2s, you would treat them as an elan of 3 for the purposes of movement. Alternatively, if you have individual characters with an elan of, say, 5 and 2, this character would move. And then his supporters would move up on their elan of 2. You do everything for the elan. So these guys have moved. The elan of 5 has moved. These guys do not have line of sight to any of the Gitungis, so they're done. These guys over here, we've got 2 guys that do have line of sight. Now, they are firing past terrain. I'm going to give cover benefit, but I'm going to give these guys 2 shots. You hit on a 4, 5, or a 6. It's a -1 to the die roll, so these guys are only going to be hitting on a 5 or a 6 because of the distance, and then because of the blocking terrain, they're only going to be hitting on 6s. So they don't hit at all. Then it becomes, so that's it for elan of 5. If we had a squad of 5 and another squad of 5, then you would do all the moving and all the shooting. You dice for initiative, suppose the Prang won. This squad would do everything. Then these guys with elan of 5 would do everything. And then you'd move to the next lowest elan, right? Or alternatively, if these guys both had 5, that player rolls. He does all his elan of 5. This player does all of his elan of 5. We'll see more of that in the next game. I like to just start out with these basic, nice and easy. You know, there's twice as many boys on the Prang side just to keep it a little bit interesting. And then I should also point out, you get 2 actions per turn. So let's start with this squad over here. They're going to use their first action to move 6 inches up to here. And then the second action, 6 inches around to here. So these guys have wheeled all the way around and are now in terrain over there. Likewise, this leader here, he's stuck in terrain. I think he's just going to wander on over here and bring his guys around so that they can take a shot maybe at these guys depending on where they move. They're going to use their second action to hunker down. They now have a bonus of 2 to their armor. These guys are the ones that actually have an opportunity to take a shot. So they're going to move up. Now they can shoot twice. The second shot would be at a -1. When you move twice, your second move is at half speed. So these guys could move 9 inches and that would be it for the turn. Instead, they're going to take their action to move up the 6 inches into terrain, and this whole squad is going to fire at these 2 guys. They have a regular rifle beyond 8 inches, so here's an 8-inch mark. They're going to be at -1 for the 5 of them. And I'll grab 5 dice to make it easy. And we're going to give those guys the benefit of cover. So only hitting on 6s for these guys. We get 2 hits. All right, hey, wow, that's a good roll. So with those 2 hits, now we have to roll to see what kind of damage is done. I'm going to use 2 white dice for the defenders. Now, this is where weapon strength can come into play. Because it's just a standard rifle versus a standard guy, it would be a simple roll-off. The white dice are the defenders, the yellow are the shooters, all right? The Prang, mind you, are armored. So each of those white dice are going to get a +1. And what we're going to do, because it's squad on squad, is we're going to line them up from high to low. So we got a 5 and a 5, and a 5 and a 3. With a +1, this first guy makes his damage save. With a 5 versus a 4, the difference of 1 means that one of these guys, and it doesn't matter which one at this point, is winged. Now, because he's winged, we're going to use a yellow marker to show that he is somewhat wounded. There are 3 game states for the figures. They're either fine or they've been winged. So every time this guy rolls the die, he's going to get a -1 now for everything. Shooting, any special actions, and defense. If he gets winged again, he will be considered struck. And when you have been struck, not only do you have that -1, you only get 1 action per turn. So no move and shoot, you got to choose. If you are struck and you're winged or struck again, then you're killed. And likewise, if you have a difference on your rolls of 1, it's winged, a difference of 2 means struck, and a difference of 3 means you have shuffled off this mortal miniature coil. The only other squad we have left to do is this guy over here, and they are going to move. Let's go ahead and move him twice. So our big boy moves 3 inches to there and 6 inches up to here. And then his guys are going to take cover within 3 inches of him, like so. And that's it for the first turn. Next up, we're going to move this Prang leader 3, 8. We're going into melee, fellas. He can move a grand total of 12 inches with that big 8-inch move. So if we bend around, he's going to be able to come up to right here, and we're going to put this entire squad in a one-on-one combat with that Gitungi squad. Likewise, we're going to charge this leader. Oh, he's too far away. He's got to stop right there. However, his squad boys can go ahead and pile in like so. And we're going to put them in one-on-one combat as you do. Now we have to do melee. Let's zoom in and look at these one at a time. Don't worry about the fact we've got a leader over here involved in the melee on the side of the Gitungi. Your leaders are always the last guys wiped out. We got to take these one at a time. Because we've got basically the same number of guys, there's no double up, so no bonuses for that. In melee, if you come into contact, you automatically hit. If you don't kill the guy, he will then get a chance to strike back at you. So let's start with the winged Prang who's fighting against this Gitungi. It's going to be a straight roll off because he is not injured. And as before, the red will be the attack die. I think I'm going to need a lot more markers. Something tells me, based on my years of wargaming experience, this is going to be deadly. So he becomes struck. Now he gets to strike back, but bear in mind, because this is a free action, the counter strike is going to be at -2. -1 for the injury, and -1 because that Prang is armored. The yellow die is always the attack. The yellow die gets a 3, he gets a 2. That means this Prang is now also struck. So he will only get 1 action, although I think we're going to have to do this entire melee before we see what happens next. So then we move on to the second melee, and the Prang makes his attack, and with an even number, nothing happens. So the Gitungi gets to counterattack, although he is at a -1, so the Gitungi rolls a 1 versus a 2, nothing happens. Our third melee in the line sees the Gitungi. He's got a -1, that's another tie, so that Gitungi survives. And then our last attack, that guy furthest from the camera, is once again going to be, the armor is really paying off for the Prang. Oh no, I'm sorry. I get this backwards. This is the Prang attack with a 2 versus 3. The Gitungi survives. So these Prang not doing so hot. So the counter attack becomes a 6. Oh, again, this is the offensive, this is the defensive, so nothing happens. Boy, I thought that would be a lot more deadly. Didn't you? Let's take a look at the melee on the other side of the table. This time, we're going to go from foreground to background. We've got 5 combats, and they're all going to be basically the same. The Gitungi roll and an even roll, they can't win. So now we're at -1 on the yellow die, and look at that. The Prang rolls first because they moved into contact. They get the free hit. This counterattack by the Gitungi leads to a difference of 3. 6 -1 is 5. That's 3 higher than the Prang's defense. So first blood goes to the Gitungi. Our second attack, and we got to do this 5 times, defender wins, so the Gitungi rolls, and they win by 1, which means the Prang is wounded. 5-4. Battle number 3 is going to be a successful defense, and the counterattack is going to be pretty... Oh, nope, so nothing happens, right? The defender won. So for battle number 4, we've got the defender winning, the Gitungi counterattacks, and the Gitungi fails. And then for the 5th battle, the Prang attacks. He gets a 5 versus a 4. And so finally, the Gitungi are able to put a wing down on one of the squaddies. So here's our squad leader with the big gun for the Prang. Oh, no. That wing result goes on the Gitungi. And that is it for the Prang's turn. Now we have to go through, and we might as well start with this squad. The Gitungi are going to melee back. And this time, we're going to speed things up again, because at this point, having all of the Prang figures locked into melee devolves the game into a long and complicated series of one-on-one roll-offs. The one side will attack with a yellow die, and then the other side, if they survive, then the other figure gets to roll back. Because one side is all locked in melee, this does turn into something a bit of a slog. I'm going to save you guys about 10 to 15 minutes by just speeding on through. So we'll shift over and kind of, as usual, we'll bounce back and forth between gameplay analysis and video analysis. And what you see here is that squad over on the Gitungi's left is struggling against the Prang. What I found is that, and bear in mind, this is the basic game. I just have 2 very fundamental basic squads, so it does tend to dissolve. And because you've only got 2 units on one side and 4 on the other, it does tend to dissolve into this. One of the issues that I faced here is that the white die was rolling hot, and the yellow die was not. So this was very much a defensive battle. As we move through, you see the yellow chips again are just the winged guys. They're rolling at a -1. Not a whole lot of modifiers to have to worry about in this game. That speeds play quite a bit. If you're playing this as a 2-player game, it's going to go crazy fast. One of the issues I had was, trying to remember the modifiers, both attackers and defenders, and which die is the attacker and defender. Might be better off to pick a color die for the Prang and one for the Gitungi. That might help me keep things straight as we do the solo wargaming. But again, the Prang, the difference here, what you're going to see is that the difference is that the Prang with that +1 on their defensive rolls, and that makes all the difference in the world. In the terms of melee, we are looking at a 3-2 advantage for the Gitungi, and that +1 advantage on the defense really does, over time, mean that the Prang have the overall advantage. The one advantage that the Gitungi had is the longer distance rifles on the part of their heavy weaponers. But again, that didn't come into play in this game at all. One thing I would recommend if you're doing this for Use Me, give the squads all the same kind of weapons so you're not left having to roll different colored dice. It's a bit ahistorical, I guess. Usually a squad will have a squad support weapon. But, in future videos, we'll go ahead and play around with some light vehicles and such, and see if things work a little bit different. And already over here, you can see that the Prang are having the better of things. They were piled in against 2 units, and they're going to come out of it with 4 guys, only one of whom is badly damaged. Over on the left-hand side for the Gitungi, that one squad is kind of hunkered down. They're waiting to see what happens. Having figured out that melee is not their forte, they're going to wait and see what happens with the melee up by the rocks in the upper right-hand corner. And they've just hunkered down. So even if the Prang get first shot, not going to make a difference. The hunker down gives you a bonus of +2. And what you may want to do when you play this game, there you go, the Prang have finally won, and they are now getting ready to move into position. They've got 2 guys left. That's the last Gitungi on that side. And we got to resolve the melee for the Prang. Still keeping track of the Elan and whose attack it is this time. The first attack is important because if you can kill the guy or even just wound him, particularly for the Prang, getting that first attack is huge, because if they wound a Gitungi, not only is the Gitungi at a -1 on his attack roll, the Prang are at +1, so it becomes a +1, -1, makes it a lot harder for those Gitungi. The squad is now going to move into cover, but hunkering down there in that cover is also going to prolong things considerably for the Gitungi. We're going to go ahead and move into real time once again. So we have just the squad leader left over there, and then these Prang are going to be able to move Just 6 inches. Oh, I forgot they can move 8. The Prang are the ones that can move 8 inches. So we'll move the leader up to there, and we'll bring these guys around like so. So they are hunkered down in cover as well. We should probably declare that the whole base is covered, but you know, whatever. So they're going to be shooting it, guys. They're already at -3. They are beyond optimum range. They're at -4. Those are going to be misses all the way around. They're going to have to get a lot closer. Then these guys get to fire. They also have rifles. Since these guys are not hunkered down, it's going to be a total of -2. So 5 shots. Oh wait, I take it back. The heavy guy has a range of 12 inches, but again, they're beyond 12 inches. So in this case, it becomes pretty simple. It's just going to be that case where we've got 5 shots, all at the same level, looking for distance plus cover, looking for 6s. They get no hits. So we don't even need to roll for wounds. And that's the end of the turn. The Prang get to go next. We're going to move our leader 8 inches. And that's going to put him right here. And so our boys are going to hunker down. How far away is 3 inches? Yeah, we'll just kind of bring them up like so. And now we've got 4 shots, but one of those shots is going to be at -1. So the white die hits on 5s. The other ones hit on 4s. So we get a total of 2 hits. These guys have to make 2 saves. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We have to roll twice. We're going to roll 2 damage dice, the yellow, and 2 defense dice. Line them up in order, and in this case, the defense dice win both times. So that shot did absolutely nothing. We've got a melee over here, and it's going to be a total of 4 attackers piling in. I guess we got to go through it. First attack is going to be a miss, and the counter attack is going to be a miss. That's -1 and +1. Our second attack is going to be a 3 versus 3, which is a miss. The counter attack is going to be no effect, and then our third attack is going to finally put this Gitungi down. And then we do have, if that's the second action, I think we're just plain done. So we're going to open up with these guys on these guys. And because they are within 8 inches, we're going to give them the benefit of cover. But there's no -1 for the distance. That being the case, it's going to be 5 shots over here at hitting on 5s and 6s. So 3 hits altogether, and we have to roll 3 defense dice. And lining up from high to low is going to be a successful defense, and one guy is winged. We'll put him right here. And that is the end of the turn. And now the Gitungi are in trouble because we've got 4 shots with these guys. Actually, we're going to have 8 shots, but we'll do the first shot first. That's kind of how these things work. In this case, we've got 2 shots from winged guys that are only going to hit on, normally it would be 4 up, it's 5 up because of the cover. So it's 5s on the yellow, 6s on the white. We get a total of 1 hit. So we got to make 1 damage defense attempt, which oddly enough succeeds. All right, then we got 4 more shots over there, except only one of those is from a guy that is injured. And in this case, it's going to be hitting on 5s. No, hitting on 6s versus hitting on 5s. So that's 1 hit, rolling for defense, and that's a successful defense. Well, I'll be darned. So we're going to take our 5 shots again against these guys and get a lot of hits. That's going to be a total of, now normally it's 4. They're shooting close range, in cover. The 5s are hits. So we got to roll 5 attacks. We got to roll, 4 penetration. These are even rolls. And we are going to score a total of 1, well, let's line them up by size, right? 6641. So, white die wins, white die wins, white die wins, white die wins. So with a great defense roll, nothing happens. But we have a second attack with these guys. And in this case, it's going to be, oh, you know what? These guys can't hit at all. But we get 2 shots looking for 6s. We're going to call that a single 6. Remember, second shot is an extra -1. And with that 4, we do take out 1 guy. Then we've got these guys over here. Likewise, it's going to be 3 attacks looking for 5s. And 1 attack looking for a 6, at least on this first shot. We get a total of 1 hit, rolling to penetrate, and that means with the 1 hit we have a wing. So now and then we have the second shot out of that squad, which is going to be looking for 6s. Looking for, no, hang on. -1 for the cover. So we're looking for 5s. And then -1 because it's the second shot, looking for 6s. So we didn't get anything on that one. But we eliminated 1, and now when these Gitungi try to counter fire against this squad over here, they've got a -1 on this. So they're in the boat where it's going to be looking for 5s and looking for a 6. And they get a total of 1 hit. And with that 1 hit, they're able to wing 1 more guy. And the way I'm going to play this is that the defender gets to put wherever they want. So he could take a wound here if he wanted to, but he's going to spread it out, and I guess, I don't know. I kind of got to think about that a little more. Maybe I'll do some research, see if there's any errata, see if alternative armies, old Gavin can help me out here. That is the end of the turn. We flip back around, and we're going to do 1, 2, 3 dice, looking for 6s, 1 die looking for 5s over here. Hey, look at that. We got 1 hit with all of that, and then the defense die comes up higher. So then we have a second fire that's going to be just looking for a 6. And that's nothing. I think we got to charge into melee because this just isn't working for the Prang. On the other side, the Prang are going to take that shot, and they're looking for 5s on the yellow, 6 on the white. They get a total of 2 hits, and if we roll for defense, then we get nothing there and nothing there. And this is going to take forever if these Gitungi can't do a little bit better. I think the tides going to the defender makes a difference. All right. I'm glad I looked that up. So the Gitungi are going to fire back, and it turns out, well, let's just roll through an example of this. The Gitungi are shooting at this squad over here. And the way you got to do the defense dice is a little bit different than I thought. This has been bogged down largely because I was doing it wrong. So let's get it right this time, okay? They are going to be looking for 5s, and 1 guy is looking for a 6. They only get 1 hit, so this isn't going to be very illustrative as it turns out. The attacker rolls first. Hey, I'm rolling over here, and I got a 5. And then I guess we're going to roll for the unwounded guy is going to take the hit. And because he fails by 2, he becomes wounded, like so. That's the leader. I probably should have picked somebody else. However, if I picked somebody else, he would have been dead. We still have the 4. Moving on to the next turn, we're going to fire with that squad first. Looking for 5s, looking for a 6 on the Gitungi. So we get a total of 2 hits. So what we do is we roll to attack. We say, okay, I got a 3 and a 1. Now the Gitungi player says, all right, I'm going to roll to eat it with one of my guys. And it's going to be the unhurt guy. And he meets that and he successfully defends. Then rolling for that 1 is going to be, it doesn't matter what he rolls, he can't lose. So now we have a total of 4 dice that are all looking for 6s. And we don't get any single hits. So the turn is over. No, it's not, because they get to counter shoot. And they're going to counter shoot over here. We've got a total of 1, 2. We got 2 hits. So they roll a 2 and a 3. And so the Prang player says, well, I'm going to roll one of my mooks. And I beat that. I'm going to roll my other mook. And I beat... No, that's a tie, which is still a successful defense. So moving on to the next turn. We are going to bring our fresh crew charging in. And we're going to see what happens here. like so. They were about 8 inches away. So now it just becomes a series of one-on-one duels until these guys get stuck in. I'm tired of shooting and having no effect. So we have an even duel here, and the Prang is able to succeed by 1, which wings the guy he's going up against. Then the guy who is winged is going to roll, and now he is, I'm just going to bring him over here. And he is going to be fighting at a -1, and well, they're both at -1. Well, he's even, so that is a 3 for the leader being at -1 versus a 1. That's 2 points. This guy is struck, and a winged guy who is struck, does he become struck or does he become winged? Talk amongst yourselves. The Holy Roman Empire. It was holy, it was Roman, it was an empire. If you are... Wow, I thought this was easier to find. There we go. If a winged character with a winged result becomes struck. A winged result makes him... Wait a minute. But it doesn't say what happens if a winged character is struck. A winged character that's struck becomes struck. Okay. So we're just going to put that there. Then we've got this combat over here. The attacker's at -1, so no effect. The defender now makes his counterattack at, that's going to be 1 versus 2, no effect. We've got an even roll here, which is going to wing this squatty, who now counterattacks at -1. It's a -1 plus 1, no effect. And then we've got a -1 on the attack. 3 versus 1 is a difference of 2. He becomes struck. For what it's worth. And if you wanted to, you could decide that attacking people in cover has a penalty. The counterattack for the Gitungi is going to be ineffective. That becomes a 5 versus a 1. And we might as well go ahead and pile these guys in as well. So we're going to have a series of 2-on-2s. And just to make it easy to determine what the heck is going on here, I'm going to pull them out to the various corners, and we can do like so. It's going to be 2 Prang on 1 Gitungi. And I am going to go ahead and speed this up in future turns. So we'll start here. The -1, so no effect. The counterattack is going to also be no effect. We've got another winged guy who is at -1. It's going to be a 4 versus a 3. That Gitungi becomes winged, I should say, and then we've got and then he gets to counterattack, and at 2 versus 5, nothing happens. We've got 1 more at -1 on the attack die, becomes a 5 versus a 1. This guy is out of the fight, and then we've got an even fight against a wounded guy, is going to be a difference of 2, and that Gitungi now becomes wounded. He counterattacks, and that's going to be... no effect. Okay, moving on to the Gitungi. Now he's got to attack one guy. He's going to attack the wounded guy to no effect. The wounded guy attacks him back at a 4 versus a nothing. Difference of 3. He goes away. Then I think this game might need a morale system, to be honest with you. I think this game probably should have been over about 10 minutes ago. Then he's going to attack the wounded guy. Everybody is at -1, no effect. The Prang is going to counterattack. Once again, no effect. We've got one more fight over here, and that is going to be a 1 versus a 2 for no effect. The counterattack is going to be, assuming it's the wounded guy, a 2 versus a 1, and this guy becomes winged, which puts him out of the fight. And so now we've got a situation where the Prang are going to gang up on the one guy, and regardless of what happens, he's never going to make it. And that is the end of the game. So that's a very simple mechanic that you wind up rolling dice a lot more than you have to. I think you want to stick with the squad mechanic for as long as possible. It saves a lot of time. I think for a 2-player game, this is going to work out really well. And what we'll do, so that, as I said at the start of the video, this was a 228 versus a 230-point battle. We had 10 guys versus 20 guys. Next time around, I'm going to mix things up a little bit by adding in some extra abilities, some extra things to remember, maybe even a light vehicle or two. Tune in for that as we explore a more squad-based science fiction game available from Alternative Armies. Use me. Use it or lose it. Till then, I'm praying for you.